Remember those U.S. diplomats in 2016 in Havana who all supposedly got sick with a mysterious illness, including dizziness, nausea, extreme ear pain, and headaches? It was dubbed Havana Syndrome. Well, last night on 60 Minutes, a military investigator spoke out and said that Russia's GRU Unit 29155 may be behind the neurological symptoms. The 5-year investigation by CBS, The Insider, and the German publication Der Spiegel also stated that there were, quote, likely attacks 2 years earlier in Frankfurt, Germany, when a U.S. government employee was knocked unconscious by what was supposedly described as a strong energy beam. That victim was later diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury.
A lawyer who represents more than 24 clients from CIA, FBI, and state who have symptoms akin to Havana Syndrome came on the TV show and told Scott Pelley that his clients were all working on Russia-related issues. Here's where things get really interesting. 2 studies from National Institutes of Health out in March stated that conditions of the 80 government employees and family members who experienced, quote, anomalous health incidents in America, Cuba, China, and Austria found no consistent evidence of brain injury. Also, in the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, pointed at the outlet Axios to its annual threat assessment, which came out in February. Simply, the agencies have concluded it is very unlikely a foreign adversary is responsible for the condition. So what exactly is going on here? Is it a cover-up? Is it a conspiracy? Why is Havana Syndrome back in the headlines shortly after it seemed to be debunked on a scientific basis?
So this is wild. You know, we talk about health officials and the State Department conspiring with journalists to suppress narratives, but in this case, they're all on a different side. The health officials say Havana Syndrome is not real. The U.S. government, the spies, say that if it is real, we don't know if it's real, but if it is real, it's not likely to be of foreign origin. It's more maybe there's something in the water or something. But the journalists are saying Russia did it. So here we are, and obviously it's just impossible to opine on it or tell. Hopefully we can get some better reporting. Of course, I have a knee-jerk suspicion of some narratives that are along the lines of Russia did it, given the way journalists have reported on everything Russia-related, with such catastrophizing about the misinformation, how they've, the journalists claim they stole our elections by putting out so much bad information on social media. That said, these are specific journalistic outlets. This is CBS, a German outlet, saying that they have evidence of some diplomatic cables, I believe, a Russian origin, pointing to an attack in Germany. So that is a little bit more significant, frankly.
Right, but it's not just kind of liberal media Russia-gating here. Carlos Jimenez, who apparently is the only Cuban-born member of Congress, took to Fox News saying that he's calling on President Biden to hold the dictatorship in Cuba accountable for collaborating with Russia to actively target and kill U.S. officials. Is this a silver lining of bipartisanship happening here, where everybody comes together in agreement on Havana Syndrome?
But there's also bipartisanship or similar ideological from opposite corners on the other side. So when I search Havana Syndrome on Twitter, the first 2 results are from about as 2 dissimilar people you can find. Jeet Heer, who is I think you would agree, leftist progressive journalist, either with The Nation or Mother Jones or something like that.
Yeah, The Nation.
And he's the first one saying that, on the one hand, medical investigations say Havana Syndrome is psychosomatic and mass psychosis. On the other hand, a bunch of spooks believe it's real, and so do their journalistic mouthpieces. So very much being on the, it's not real.
Yeah.
And then the next one is J.D. Vance saying that as well, a very conservative Republican congressman.
This feel like an establishment, like much of kind of the warmongering, military-industrial complex type agendas. It's the solid center, the bipartisan center, who wants a lot of these things. And if you are interested in a kind of a global escalation of war, then having a scapegoat in your own backyard using scary sound waves to target government officials who are working on Russia-related projects certainly is a kind of target that maybe you could hang a little bit of military funding on.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're really going with with Russia did it, which again, we can look at I won't dismiss out of hand reporting I have not carefully parsed through or heard the counter argument for yet, but it is very, some of this stuff sounds like energy weapon. This sounds like, I don't know if you've caught up on the 3-body problem, which I am now watching, and I've watched out of order because I just happened to see like the middle 2 episodes. This is this new science fiction show on Netflix, by a Chinese author. It's sci-fi. It's about aliens coming to Earth, and there is I won't spoil it. There is a sophisticated sci-fi technology attack in the 4th or 5th episode that is crazy. That is one of the most like gripping, jaw-dropping, like my mouth open the whole time scenes I've ever watched on television. It was crazy. And
does that affect your
I don't know,
your concern that this might be something that needs to be investigated?
It's not like a sonic sound-based attack, but I at first thought that's what was going on, and so I very much had Havana Syndrome or like the you know how big a fan of Lost I am.
Yes, I do.
On the island, the Dharma Initiative surrounds their little compound with these pylons that emit a sonic sound-based thing to stop people and actually to stop the disembodied smoke monster from getting into their complex.
All right.
It's some good science fiction.
Well, look,
anyway, they described an energy beam hitting someone and causing them brain injury.
Well, this is what's interesting. There is some real science about the development of these kinds of directed energy weapons. How applied that research is at this stage is not something that I am personally up on, but it does sound to the ear like complete and total science fiction, and what I don't think is entirely true. And it could be the case that people who are in the government and perhaps more privy to the kind of technologies that have been developed are more open to this story being authentic because they know the realm of the possible much more than we know the realm of the possible. But the opposite could also be true. They could be exploiting our ignorance of what is going on here to get the public afraid, not just that they might come down with neurological symptoms, but that it might be a foreign attack by a foreign adversary.
Right. I remember talking about this previously on the show years ago. I think it was becoming a thing. It was getting talked about in the media at almost the same time that long COVID was starting to be talked about in the media, which I think these two things have been greeted with skepticism by different, or in some cases opposite, categories of people. But although, as we're saying, it's sort of just anti-establishment versus establishment. It was entering the discourse at a time where people were starting to pay additional attention, I guess, or it was becoming a little bit wrong or being mocked in polite society to discount that people were saying that they were suffering from things, even if it was hard to diagnose and there wasn't yet medical literature backing it up. But here in this case, the health authorities have pretty much said that they can't find an actual thing to point to that caused it. But that is certainly not deterring national security reporters. So.
Well, look, maybe it's not Havana Syndrome. Maybe it's all long COVID after all.
Maybe that's it. All right, we will continue to pay attention to this subject, and we'll have more Rising right after this.